There are places in this world we're not meant to talk about. Forgotten towns that vanish not only from maps, but from the memories of those who once lived nearby. Hollow Town is one of them, a place where time feels broken and silence hides secrets. Some say it's just a ghost story, passed down to scare children. Others say they've heard whispers in the woods, or seen lights flickering where no one lives. But the truth is far worse. Hollow Town is not abandoned. It waits, and it watches. This place consumes those who search for answers, and never lets them leave.
In 1987, a young family moved into a quiet little town called Hollow Town. At first, everything seemed perfect. Tidy homes with trimmed lawns, polite neighbors, children laughing in the park. It looked like something out of a commercial, peaceful, cozy, a fresh start. But just 2 weeks later, things started to change. People began to disappear. No noise, no struggle, no trace. First, it was a woman from down the street. Then, a boy who had been playing near the fountain. At first, the family thought it was just coincidence, something explainable. But the disappearances didn't stop. The father tried calling the police, but there was no signal. Not just weak reception, nothing. No radio, no TV. Even the landline was dead. So he got in his car and drove to the next town to get help. But no matter which road he took, no matter how far he drove, the road always led him right back to their own driveway. He thought he was losing his mind, that it was a dream or some kind of hallucination. But when he told his wife, she cried, because she had been having the same dreams. Dreams of dark figures standing at the windows, voices whispering from the basement, children's songs playing from a radio that wasn't plugged in. Day by day, the town grew quieter. The people who were still there stopped waving. They stopped going outside. Their faces looked empty. That's when the family realized Hollow Town wasn't just a place. It was a trap. A place that doesn't let go. And the harder you try to leave, the deeper it pulls you in. The wife was the first to notice something strange. Their young son had started behaving differently. He stopped playing with his toys. He no longer laughed, no longer cried. Just stared for hours, sometimes at the wall, sometimes at nothing at all. One morning, she found strange drawings in his room. Symbols twisted, ancient-looking symbols scratched into the wallpaper with something sharp. She asked where he had seen them. He just smiled and said, "They showed me." That night, as she lay in bed, she heard whispers. Faint at first like a breeze beneath the door, but then louder, calling her name, over and over. She checked the hallway, nothing. She checked her son's room, he was sleeping. But the symbols on the wall, they were glowing. The next night, she saw something through the window. A figure, no, several standing in the neighbor's yard. Still, watching. When she stepped outside, the street was empty. No figures, no sounds, not even the wind. But the feeling didn't go away. She knew she was being watched. Every window she passed seemed to have someone just out of view. Curtains moving on their own. TV screens flickering with static even in empty homes. Her husband didn't believe her at first, until he saw the drawings spreading through the house. Hallway, kitchen, bathroom mirror. And their son. He had stopped speaking altogether, only smiling and humming a song that neither of them had ever taught him. A lullaby, in a language they didn't understand. In the attic, covered in dust and cobwebs, they found an old leather-bound journal. Its pages were yellowed, the ink faded, but the fear written into every word was still alive. It belonged to the previous tenant, a man whose name had been scratched out, as if erased from time. He wrote of nights filled with silence so deep, it felt like the town itself was holding its breath. He described a presence. A thing he called the void. It didn't walk or speak. It didn't make sound. It simply appeared, late at night, when all lights were off, and even the wind dared not blow. "I've seen it," he wrote. "Not with my eyes, but in my mind. It comes when I think about leaving. It knows." He spoke of neighbors disappearing, not just dying or moving away. Erased. No records. No memories. Like they had never existed. He believed Hollowtown wasn't just a quiet, forgotten place. He called it an ancient trap, designed to lure people in, to feed something that should never have been awakened. The journal grew more frantic near the end. Pages torn, handwriting shaking. He stopped using names, started referring to people as them, and eventually only as shadows. The final page simply read, "It's awake now, and I can't leave." That was the last entry. No one knows what happened to him. No forwarding address, no police report, just a locked attic, and warnings written in ink and madness. They tried to escape, packed their things, took the car, but every road led them back to Hollowtown. No matter which way they turned, the signs changed, the horizon shifted, and soon they were right back in front of their home, as if the town had never let them leave. They began to notice something strange. Each day felt the same breeze, the same cloudy sky, the same distant crow calling in the distance, and every single clock in the house stopped exactly at 3:33 a.m., even the digital ones. Then the television began turning on by itself. It flickered with static, then showed old home videos, clips of their family, at birthday parties, holidays, everyday life. Only, they never filmed those moments. Not once. They didn't even own a video camera. The footage showed them doing things they didn't remember, smiling, waving, speaking to someone just outside the frame. The mother started waking up with dried mud on her feet. The father found photos in the attic they had never taken. Photos of their son, standing in front of the house, but with someone else's shadow behind him. Then, the worst night came. She turned her back for just a moment, and the boy vanished, right in front of her eyes. No sound, no scream, just gone. All he left behind was a drawing on the floor, a perfect circle, crossed by a thick, black X, drawn in something that looked like ink, but smelled like iron. They searched the entire house, the neighborhood, the woods, but he was never found. Only the drawing remained, and at 3:33 a.m., the TV turned on again, and this time, he was in it, but he wasn't looking at the camera. The neighbors returned, one by one. Their silhouettes appeared on the streets, but something was wrong. They moved in perfect sync, like puppets on invisible strings. Their faces were missing, no eyes, no mouths, just smooth, pale skin, as if their identities had been wiped away. The mother called out to them. No one answered. They simply turned, slowly, and stared. Every night, more of them appeared, standing still on porches, watching, waiting. They all wore the same grey clothes, same shoes, same movements, and when they walked, they didn't make a sound. The family locked their doors, boarded the windows, but it didn't matter, because the whispers still came, through the walls, through the vents, even through the baby monitor that hadn't worked in years. The whispers repeated the same phrase, over and over. "Stay with us. It's safe here. It's forever." Sometimes the voices sounded like strangers. Other times, they sounded like people they once knew, old friends, family, even their own son. And when they looked outside, the faceless neighbors were closer, not moving, just waiting. Some nights, the family would wake up and find muddy footprints in the hallway, but the doors were still locked. The whispers grew louder, more voices joined in, until it felt like the entire town was outside, chanting in unison, "Stay with us, stay with us." And then, at 3:33 a.m., everything would stop. Silence, stillness, like the town was holding its breath. But they knew it was never over, because tomorrow night, they'd be back again. The father couldn't sleep. Something kept pulling at his thoughts. A distant sound, like a bell, or maybe a whisper carried by the wind. One morning, just before sunrise, he wandered beyond the last houses of Hollow Town. There, hidden behind dead trees and overgrown weeds, he found what looked like the remains of an old church. Its roof had collapsed long ago, but the stone walls still stood, cracked and blackened by time. Inside, dust choked the air. The altar was shattered, and beneath it, he noticed something strange. A metal ring embedded in the floor. He pulled it. A heavy hatch creaked open, releasing a breath of cold, stale air from below. A ladder led into darkness. He climbed down. The tunnel beneath was narrow, its walls damp and covered in carvings. Words everywhere, over and over. The same phrases etched deep into stone. You've been here before. You'll never leave. His breath grew shallow. The tunnel seemed to stretch endlessly, but with each step, he felt clarity. He understood now. This town, this place, wasn't just cursed. It demanded something in return. A trade, a sacrifice. Someone had to stay behind, for the others to escape. Maybe that's why the town chose them. Maybe it always chooses. But then, he heard something. A faint voice echoing through the tunnel. At first, he thought it was his mind playing tricks. But then it grew louder. It was his son. Dad, let us go. The voice was soft, pleading, filled with sadness, and something else, hope. He closed his eyes. The father knew what he had to do, but he also knew one more thing, something no one had ever admitted. Hollow Town doesn't make deals. Even if you offer your soul, no one truly escapes. The buildings began to pulse, as if alive. Windows shimmered like eyes. Roofs swelled and sank, breathing in silence. The air vibrated with a low hum, a sound that felt more like a warning than anything man-made. The streets, they shifted beneath his feet. Paths he'd walked 100 times, now twisted into unfamiliar turns. Street signs changed, while no one was looking. Familiar houses rearranged themselves, like pieces on a board. He looked around, and understood. Hollow Town was no longer just a place. It was awake. It was watching. It was breathing. It was speaking, not in words, but in feelings, in fear, in isolation, in despair that clung like fog. And in that moment, he saw the truth that others before him had missed. Hollow Town is a living organism, not just haunted, not cursed, alive, feeding, growing stronger with every scream, every hopeless thought. He stopped running, he stopped resisting, and instead, he walked, step by step, into the deepest part beneath the town, a place no map showed, no light reached. The heartbeat of Hollow Town grew louder, slower, as if it was preparing for something, welcoming him. He gave himself to it, not because he wanted to, but because he believed this would save his family. And then, silence. When the family awoke, they were no longer in Hollow Town. They found themselves in a new home, a peaceful neighborhood, sunny skies, laughter from children playing outside, polite neighbors waving from trimmed lawns. They thought it was over, that they had escaped, that the nightmare was behind them, until they saw the mailbox. Not the shape, not the color, but what was written on it. A new inscription, freshly carved. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They knew. It followed them, or maybe they had never left. Elsewhere, miles away, maybe more, a different family unfolded a road map in a gas station parking lot. Hey, what's this place? Hollow Town. Never heard of it. Looks quiet. Let's go for the weekend. And once again, without a sound, the town waits.